Hey everybody, Matt Sharp here at Corbett Lake Lodge. I've been lake fishing all over the place for the last couple of days, but I decided to stop in here because this is one of my favorite spots just to relax. The fish are hungry and plentiful, and redeem myself after maybe some humbling days on some harder lakes. So anyway, I wanted to do a video today on how to set up a lake boat that maybe isn't yours. This is a big problem that I've had. I'll go to a lodge or I'll go out with a buddy and the boat's just not set up right for success. Now, I got my own boat in the car, but I'm way too lazy to set it up, so I'm gonna steal one of the lodge boats. And here at Corbett Lake has done an awesome job. They have great boats in comparison to some of the other lodges, but there's still a few things we can do to them to make them a little more comfortable, a little more ergonomic when it comes to fishing, and we're gonna put a sounder on it, and I'm gonna show you how to do a quick sounder attachment to a boat that maybe isn't yours. Anyway, come on out for the ride and we'll maybe do some fishing afterwards. All right, here we are. So I've picked my boat. It's a Marlin, and these are basically clean slates or blank slates when it comes to setting up a boat, which is really great. Corbett Lake's been smart. They've put anchor mounts on it. This is something you might not see all the time, but I am going to show you how to put anchor mounts on a boat if it doesn't have it. I've already thrown the trolling motor on, but in here, in this big red cooler, it's not for the beer. This is what carries all of my gear to set up a boat. We're gonna set up sounders, we're gonna set up rod mounts, things that are gonna keep this boat more organized and be better for fishing. And oh, it doubles as a seat because it's very common that you go to a lake and the seat system isn't very good or not at all like this. And though you can sit on the bench seats fishing all day, your back is going to feel it if you don't have a proper backrest. I'm gonna rip through this, set up the boat for us, and then I'm gonna walk you through the different parts and what you might consider throwing on your boat or put in your kit so you can go to any boat and get it set up right. So we made it out, we're all set up, and what we got going on here is the Scotty coaming clamp mount, and this is how you're going to clamp any rod holder almost anywhere. It's a little finicky, you're gonna have to work on the angles, and I do recommend sticking the bolt on the outside of the boat because then your line won't tangle on it as much. But we can move these anywhere. Say you had a friend in this boat, we could stick them on the side and go broadside really easily, or stick them in the back. On the other side here, we have a gunnel mount, and this is gonna hold our sounder. And there's an interesting little DIY hack you can do with a rail mount. I'm gonna show you guys back in the office how that's all put together, but it's really easy to plug in, and we've got right here, we've got our Hook Reveal 7. We're gonna be upgrading that to an Eagle soon. And then the transducer mount just comes off the back, super easy. All we have to do, we're gonna fold it down, we're gonna position it, and there we are in the water. And let's see if she turns on this morning. And there she is. So now we have sounder. I almost won't fish without a sounder just because it tells me where the bottom is, tells me how and where I'm going to anchor. And yeah, I wouldn't leave home without it, let's put it that way. Now, what else we got going on? Well, we've got a 52 amp hour Dakota lithium battery. These are great. I can walk with this with one hand. I wanna say it's like 11 pounds. I'll fact check myself on that one, but very light. They charge super fast, which is great because I can just throw it on in the evening and I'll be charged by the next day. And I get about 2 days of runtime, engine and hook reveal. Ironically, this is on day 3 and she's still doing great, but I do expect it to die today and I've got a backup just in case, but easy 2 days runtime, sounder and electric trolling motor. So what else have we got going on? Well, if you were going to a boat that didn't have anchor mounts, all you need to do is get the same gunnel mount that I've got here, and the Scotty anchor mount plugs into it. Get yourself 50 feet of rope and put a carabiner on the end of it. That way this is super light and we can just plug this in anywhere we want on the boat. And then I do recommend picking up a 20-pound pyramid anchor. Why 20? Well, if you're going to a boat that you don't know, more is better. You can get away with a 15 on a boat this size. but I prefer something heavy, at least one heavy anchor and maybe a 10 or a 15 in the back, heavy anchor on the front. So 2 of those are in the kit. What else have I got? Well, on my boat, if you're setting up a inflatable boat, they don't have anywhere to put anything. And so these gear caddies are awesome. I use this for my inflatable. It just plugs in again to any 241L system. And as you're gonna learn, Scotty is amazing. It's like Lego for fishermen. All right, well, I was planning on filming some more and talking to you guys through how I was going to set up the mounts, but the fish did not cooperate, and they didn't cooperate in kind of the best of way. This was actually the second cast I was filming, and I missed the first bite about 30 seconds into getting an indicator on the water. But this is one thing to note, to see how flat calm the lake was. And I have found that when it's like this, moving the fly more aggressively will trigger bites. And you can see this fish hit it once, and I think it hits it again here, and then it's going to hit it again and actually take it after I strip it there. Now, this was 8 in the morning. This was right when I pulled out. I didn't expect much to happen until 10, maybe even 11, but we threw down the blobs and the leeches, and the blobs definitely put on a clinic. I'm going to put the blobs up here so you can see some examples of what was working, and we do get to play the SFOF drinking game, and I'm going to say nice fish. The fish on Corbett are awesome. They're ranging from 15 inches all the way up to 5 pounds, with some even pushing that range. This one's beautiful, gave me a good ride, and had a ton of fun. Now, I do want to take you back to the office and talk about the Scotty pieces. We're going to look at the angles I like to mount rods. I'm going to give you a couple options for mounting rods that you might be interested in, a couple tricks that I've seen when mounting them, so you know what you're getting and why you're getting. We're also going to go look at the sounder mount that I have, because it's really convenient for just jumping on a boat, having a full sounder, and being able to go to a buddy's boat or a lodge boat or your boat without a bunch of mounting options. All right, back in the office. Excellent trip. Wanted to thank Ann and the team up there. Had a great time, and yeah, the fish didn't cooperate, but they didn't cooperate in kind of the best of way. I literally threw out indicators and they started going down. I wanted to talk more about the mounts when I was out there, but I thought it's actually best if I sit you down here. I show you with my 241L mounting system what all this stuff is and how you guys can put it together, as well as some really cool DIY things that you can do that maybe isn't in the manual, but it's going to help you when you're out on the lake. So the first one I wanted to talk about is going to be the R5 rod holder right here. These guys are great. They sit in the rod. I'll show it to you here how you can flip them in, flip them out. They're really quick. I think they are absolutely critical when you are indicator fishing. So a couple tricks with these. The first one is I want you to loosen off these screws in the top. They need to be quick and easy to flip open. When they come out of the box, they're going to be tight, and a lot of people get put off with that, but like literally a quarter turn and you're in the game. Now, the other thing you definitely want, I don't know if you can see that yellow slit in there, is going to be the slip discs. They're like $5. It's going to allow you to pivot them really easily when they're in the holder instead of trying to grab these teeth. Without it, they can be real frustrating. Now, how are you going to mount it? Well, usually you'll see these come with a 241 mount. At Pacific Angler, we don't sell them with a 241 mount. That's on purpose. And the reason for that is that the 241L, which is the one right here, you can see it has a button here and it makes it way easier to get in and out at the right angle. I'll just show you here on my handy desk mount. Boom, out it goes. Now, I do have an old 241 mount here, and you can see, I'll try to fight it out. You can see that's a lot more of a pain in the butt. That's my GoPro mount. That's what I was using to film some of the stuff on the lake. They still work if you have a 241, it's okay. But we sell most of our mounts without the 241. Why? Because we think it's worth a few bucks extra to get the 241L and have that ability to push the button and pop it out at your convenience. So that is the R5. Awesome. Now there's the how do we mount that to the boat, and that's sort of the tricky part or the complicated part. So we've got a couple options for that. Just grab them out of the bucket over here, bear with me. So the first one, combing clamp mount. I love this thing because it's so compact, super small, reasonably cost effective, and it's going to fit on any, when I say any, there are some exceptions. You might want to test this before you buy 10 of them, but every boat that I've been to, I've been able to find a spot to mount this on. It's designed so that it has different angles in here, and you can spin this around to catch the different angle that you might find on the gunnel of the given boat. Now, because of that, it can be a little finicky to get tightened down. Some people have problems with it. I haven't, but I understand the pain because I have been out there sort of reefing on it to try to get it secure. Pro tip, definitely mount it with the peg out of the boat. If it's in the boat, it's going to catch on every fly line known to man and be a real frustration. But if you mount it on the outside of the boat, it's good to go. I'll sometimes put slip discs in here as well, just to give me more functionality on that front. Now, there is a better option, but it's a better option only if your boat will take it. If you've got a Marlin style boat, I highly recommend going straight with a gunnel mount. Let me see if I've got one here. All right, here it is. Here's the gunnel mount. I had to dig it out. This guy is a beast. It's way more sturdy. It's actually easier if you have a flat gunnel or reasonably flat gunnel to mount. Same trick, go bolt out if you can. And it comes with a 241 on it. I've put a 241L on it because I like that system so much better with the button. However, it does come with a 241 and we can't get it separately. You can make do with a 241. Now, the trick with this guy is it's gonna plug the standard R5 in, no problem. In the game, you can put it anywhere. I'll take 2 of these on the boat and I can move them around. And I wanted to talk about boat positioning. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but I think it's one of the most mission critical things when it comes to setting up your boat or actually just fishing effectively, is to get the rods in the right angle. And the wind is going to shift on you. The wind on Corbett was spinning me around constantly because it was just barely blowing, but it was enough to move me around and want my indicators to go different directions. And so what I'll do, I'll just grab my handy whiteboard here, erase that. So what do we got? So I'm not an artist. We need Eric for this, but we've got our boat. Yeah, that looks like a boat. You guys are gonna giggle at me. Yeah, there's a boat, right? We all see that. And so ideally we're gonna anchor off the front with our biggest anchor, and that's gonna latch us down. But depending on the wind, if the wind ideally is pushing straight like this, we're just gonna mount here and here, and our rods are gonna go off and our indicators will sit out here, no problem, right? But it's pretty common that all of a sudden the wind starts quartering in this way and our indicators start going this way. And so what I'll do is, if I have a boat that has set mounts, I'm stuck. I can't really do much. I can angle this one if I want, but maybe I've got a motor in the mind. I'll just take this guy off and I'll stick one over here. I'll angle this guy so he's this way, and then I'm going off that direction, and I have a much more in-wind direction of drift. Vice versa up here. And heck, if you got your buddy in the boat, you can do one here, and then we get a broadside wind. We're going to be running straight out like this, in with the wind. Now, I do know that some very experienced anglers will actually run into the wind and have their indicators come back at them. I'm too lazy for that. I want the indicators to be with the wind so they hold steady. They're not swinging and moving all over the place. You will find nuances that sometimes the fish want that swinging indicator, and it's usually in calm conditions like we saw in the video, but you also will have times when the bite really happens, when there's just a slight push away from you. The wind is going this way and your indicators are perfectly set out behind the boat. There's nothing better than staring at 2 indicators perfectly positioned sort of behind the boat. And with these rod mounts, we can make it easy. Okay, so that is the rod mount situation. Let's throw that out of the way. What else do we want to talk about? Well, I want to talk about setting up a sounder. Now, 10 years ago, if you asked me, I said sounders would not be mission critical when it comes to lake fishing. I think differently now. I feel literally naked if I'm out on a lake without a sounder. Why? Back in the day, the sounders were really good for finding depth, and that was really important. but I downplayed it a bit when I was guiding because I was out on a lake. I had to get into the game quickly. Fish were aggressive. Maybe I didn't have to work as hard. But nowadays, finding the depth, finding the drop off, finding the position of the boat is important. But with even the more cost-effective modern sounders, we can go and map the exact bottom out in front of us where we're going to anchor into an accurate 2-foot topographic map that's taken as you do it. So what I'll do is I'll do a circle with the boat of the area I want to do, get exact depths. Then I come back, then I drop my anchors, and I've got a really good gauge of where I'm casting or why I'm casting in a given direction. The other big one is now with down scan and chirp scan. When we combine those two images, the down scan is really good at seeing the bottom, so logs and sticks and structure on the bottom. The chirp is really good for seeing fish, but it's sort of grainy, sort of mixed up. With the new fish reveal from Lowrance, it's really easy to tell the difference. So I can get a really good picture of the bottom, I can see where the fish are, and if I'm in a spot for more than 20 minutes and I haven't seen fish underneath the boat in, let's say, 14, 15, 18 feet of water, I'm moving. And without that, I just wouldn't have the confidence and really like it. So anyway, big problem has been, what do you do if you don't own your own boat? How do you have a sounder? Well, nowadays for 400, 500, 600 bucks, you can get a really great unit. But how do you mount it? Well, this is where this guy comes in. So what we're gonna do, however, we're gonna take off this mount and we're going to stick on that guy. I don't know if you can see it there. This guy right here. And it just goes on where the 241L was. And that allows us to put on this little guy from Scotty, which is designed for kayaks, but it works perfectly like this. Boom, on. It's going to have an arm for your transducer. This extends down below the bottom of standard Lund, standard tin can. And then on here, we're going to use this guy and we're going to mount our MFD, our multi-function display, which is going to have that GPS and downscan/chirp technology in it, which is going to show us the fish. So that's awesome. Now, one little tip, and this is a tip when you are ever building with Scotty products, is I'm going to show pictures here of the 3 different bolts, maybe even 4 different bolts that I buy from Home Hardware. They're like $3 for a pack of 8. And sometimes the depths, when you're DIYing, you're putting a couple pieces together, don't have the same depth, meaning that the 241 on this is higher. So I'm gonna put the exact details right here so you can go in and, like I said, $3, easy peasy. Pick them up and throw them in your kit, because if you're messing around with boats constantly like we are, it's useful to have instead of having to run to Home Hardware, spend $10 in gas to get a $3 part. So grab those next time you're at Home Hardware, and you know you'll be set up for a lot of different hacks when it comes to putting this stuff together. Slip discs in there, they come with that, which is great. So it allows you to lift the transducer out of the water. This saved my butt on a couple fish where the fish were sort of in near the transducer and maybe gonna get wrapped around. And obviously when you're running fast, or heck, you're pulling the boat out and you don't want to gravel it out on the bottom of the lake. All right. That is the transducer mount. Now there is one other way you can do it with the transducer, and it's not a bad option, is you can just get the arm. And so this arm is going to be for your transducer. Now another note, these are designed for kayaks, so they're gonna have a piece in here. I don't have it anymore because I turfed it, but that you can take off, and that's going to allow you to get the right direction for your given transducer. Sometimes those bolts that I told you to pick up from Home Hardware come in handy when you're trying to match it with different transducers depending on the brand, but take a peek at this before you do it and take that little extension off that sort of changes the angle. Now what you do with this is you plug this into any 241L, or heck, you could even get away with a coaming clamp mount with this probably, because it's not going to put a lot of torque on it, or you get it with a gunnel mount and you could plop your transducer in and then run a cord to another area where you might have your MFD, your display for the given sounder. So another good option, depends how you want to set up your boat, but if you want it all in one sort of package, transducer, MFD, and you know, wrap the cords around it. That's what I do. We've actually taken these off because Jason is running with this sounder up to lakes this weekend, but you get the idea. Okay, one more thing for the gunnel mount. So probably more important than the sounder, even more important than the rod holders, is going to be your anchor system. and you need a good anchor system. I remember when I first started going to Corbett, they had cinder blocks you threw off, and it was a pain. You could never get the boat positioned right. You were always dreading having to move the boat, but they do make this guy here. And so that plugs into this guy, boom, and you're in the game. Put a carabiner on it, get yourself a 15 or 20 pound anchor, and you can cover almost any scenario. Now, I've got a couple more that I wanted to show you if you just want to geek out on Scotty stuff that I do with my boat. Next one I want to show you is this guy here. I'll pop it out. This is the Scotty phone holder. Now, I didn't think much of this when I first saw it because, oh, it's a phone holder. There's a million of these on Amazon. You know, I have friends that have those extender things that they're trying to use to hold their phone. But when I was looking at it, Scotty was actually pretty smart with this. So we flop in the phone, and you can see we've got our cameras exposed, which is really nice. And this system is durable. Like, I just slide it in there. We can obviously tighten this down to make sure it's not getting out, but with a slightly loose knob here, it's easy to pull out and get at. And so you can use this to hold your phone, keep it in one place, grab it quickly, not have to be unbolting it, but know that it's going to be pretty safe and solid. And then you can maybe mount it so you can do a little bit of filming, and there's nothing harder than trying to get a solo shot of a beautiful fish when you're in a boat. And so they have arms, and you can see this guy here. We've got an arm, and I can pivot that around. It's got slip discs as well, and so we can pivot that around, move that where we would want to maybe do some filming, maybe where we want to catch a picture, or heck, we just want it in our face. I know guys that have sounders that will link to their phone, and then yep, we just throw it in there, wrong way around, throw it in there, and Bob is uncle. We are set to hold our phone. Now the other one that I like is, which I was doing a bunch of the filming on, and this is stuck in that 241, so it comes out a little bit hard, is your GoPro holder. Super useful. Again, plug it into any 241L, and you could even mount that with your combing clamp mount or your gunnel mount, depending on where you want it. All right, I think I've covered just about everything there is, at least on the basic level, that you can put in Scotty. They're wonderful. It's, like I said before, it's kind of Lego blocks for building boats, reasonably priced, made in Canada. Really like their product, and they're always open to new ideas as well. So we're constantly talking to them, tweaking what they're doing, and so there could be some cool things on the horizon when it comes to making boats better. Heck, leave it in the comments below if you want some crazy weird mount. It's all done in-house in Canada, so Scotty can do it for us here over on Vancouver Island. All right, so big thanks to Anne out at Corbett. Thanks to you guys for staying tuned on this long video. And as always, you want to see more videos like this, consider hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to catch you in the next one.